among different individuals. Now, glucose is a well-known driver for insulin. We already know that. But the study reveals that some people exhibit a strong insulin response to proteins or fat instead. This really changes our belief that everybody's the same and just don't eat carbs and that's it, right?
Well, so sometimes I am a stickler sometimes I gloss over and say, okay, that's all. Call it just a carbohydrate, whether it's a sugar or a starch, whether it's glucose or whether it's fructose or, But sometimes I really just have to be a stickler. And when he says some people, he's talking about cadaver cells. He's talking about the study that was done that you'll see at the end was not in people. And yet he's talking about people. So this is a generalization that what we see in that petri dish of cadaver cells is actually what would have happened in that person when the person's alive. When actually things start to change, even in that sort of transformation and have outside of all the other hormonal inputs, that's one of the biggest confounders there is that, this is not really studying what he's saying inside intact human with all the other things going around. It's done by a group that's trying to come up with personalized nutrition based on your individual response to these different foods when we're still talking about cadaver cells.
So 9% responded with higher insulin to protein and 8% responded with higher insulin to fat.
Remember, these are not people. These are cadaver cells.
This study showed that the insulin production is very dynamic and individualized. You
can go to PubMed.gov, and put in PMID, the 9 number down below in the abstract, so 389-59864, and then that paper comes up. And so it's actually in cadaver cells, lo and behold, some people's beta cells, insulin-producing cells, pancreatic cells, secreted more insulin based on the protein and fat than the carbohydrate. Almost everyone had the kind of expected response that you would see on a CGM, and whether this is real, that 10% of people don't respond to carbohydrate, I think it's hypothesis generating. This is not hypothesis testing, and he makes the mistake of calling each one of these cadavers, the cells from a cadaver, a person, when it's not really an intact live human.
Than what we thought previously. It means that one size is not going to fit all. With a better understanding of you as a person, how your insulin is produced and how your sugars respond to different food, you can determine better. So I strongly recommend a lot of people to use those glucose monitoring devices to see how their body really reacts. And in clinics, we can actually do studies where you can check the insulin after a carbohydrate meal, protein meal, fat meal, and for those people who do not have insulin and see their insulin response, that is very doable as well.